My favorite videos are skid steer attachment reviews. I'm spending my own time and money to review these things. All I ask in return is drop a comment, like, subscribe. It's free. I wish somebody would have made these reviews for me. That's why I'm doing it. I have an entire warehouse full of these, so if you have an attachment that you want to see reviewed and I don't have a video of it already, check out my page for the other reviews. Leave me a comment. Which one do you want to see? I'll probably do that one next. This is one that I'm personally excited about. I have some projects that I want to use this on. So let's throw this thing out of the metal crate, cut it out, throw it away. Let's get to the review. I appreciate you guys. So we've got it out of the crate, but this thing's brand new. It's gotten all dusty, so why don't we clean it off first before we start digging into it, and let's do that now. This is a topsoil screening bucket from Wolverine. This has been an attachment I've been excited to check out for a while. I have some terrible dirt that I want to sift through. I have a couple other ideas. Let's see how this thing works. This is a 2023 model. I've had it for some time. Just been waiting to use it, been busy doing other things. One thing that I'm excited about is see how the screening bucket is separated from the frame. And it's got these urethane mounts. And so I'm hoping that this doesn't shake the living you-know-what out of me inside the cab. There's just one screen that comes with it. This is just little like 1/2 inch screen. Now you can remove it by just undoing, what is that, 10, 12 nuts and bolts. You can put a different screen in it. This is the only one that it comes with though. Basically all you've got is a hydraulic motor, and I'm guessing this is a tumbler of some sort. It says to add oil, so before we start this up, let's fire this thing up, and or not fire it up, let's open it up and see what all is inside here. Maybe we've got some adjustments here as well, but let's open this up. Let's lube everything. Let's make sure that we hit everything with grease. Do have a bearing right here, so let's pop this cover off, see what it looks like. So removing the cover, all it is some welded half moons on a shaft running through 2 bearings. Now I can see a couple issues right away. Number one, there's no disconnection between the motor and this shaft, so I think that this vibration is going to be really hard on this bearing. Now this carrier bearing over here, it has a nipple on it, which I can see just by touching it is loose, so we need to tighten that up. But we need to really lube this bearing up. This is a hand packed bearing. There's no nipple on this, so I mean, this works for a counterweight. All that's going to happen is this motor is going to spin this, and it's so off balance that it's going to shake like crazy, but there's no separation between these two, so I'm curious to see how this holds up. I don't know if you could just see that right there, but I basically had to jam it into the ground and kind of lift up the skid steer, because otherwise my arm would be up just a little bit and I wouldn't be able to get out of the cab. So this is a common issue when you have these mounting plates that are just a little bit higher, is when setting it all the way to the ground, the arm doesn't come all the way down, and then you can't get out of the cab. So that's why I tilted it, kind of lifted the cab up to make it work like that. All right, we've got the bearings lubed up. It's going to pull hydraulic fluid from the machine, but I do kind of want to see this work. So I'm going to leave this cover off for a minute and film this thing spinning around and just get a quick look at it before we start doing work with it. I accidentally filmed this on time lapse, but it went both directions and surprisingly didn't shake the bucket all that bad. So let's move on. Here's the first thing that I'm going to try to use it on. This is some really good dirt. This is three-way soil and it just has a bunch of weeds in it. So my thought process is, what if I scoop in and shake it out and I'm just left with the weeds and a nice pile of dirt? I don't know if it'll work, but let's try it. Now, when I started first, I grabbed a really big bucket and I'm turning it on right here. You can see that some dirt is sifting through, but not enough. So I'm trying to shake the bucket down a little bit to see if that will help, and you can see it does. There is more coming out, but it's still going really slow. It's definitely not kicking through as fast. Now if I really violently shake it like here, more dirt is coming through. Again, it's definitely not as fast as what I would like. This is very first time using it. I've never used one of these before. This is literally the first scoop. What I'm thinking at this point, I just grabbed way too much dirt, so I'm going to try it with a little bit less. Time lapse through. It really didn't do a good job. You can see all of this material still left over. So let's grab a new bucket and see if it's any better from there. Here I grabbed less dirt and I'm also angling it down. I'm tilting it while I'm running it, and that is definitely running through dirt much faster. Look at it pour out of there. Seems to be working quite a bit better, getting the hang of it, at least making more progress. And here's what we have left over. And this time it actually is mostly rocks and weeds, mostly garbage, but let's take a look at a different pile here. Now for the fine three-way soil, it actually did pick a lot of that stuff out. I mean, it did a pretty quick job, but this is already nice soil to begin with. This has already been screened, so just getting like a few big rocks and the weeds out did an okay job. Now this second pile of dirt, this is the pile and piles like this that I really wanted to go through. This is really poor dirt, lots of rocks, lots of junk in here. So this is going to be a lot tougher test. Let's take what we've learned and see if we can't sort this pile out a little bit better. Take a look at what we can do. If you look at what's left behind, it did do a very good job of separating out all of the chunks, but we just got to actually build something to sort these, to get rid of all of these chunks. So what we found in first trying it is it really only works at a pretty steep angle. And so the only way that I can really see this working is if we build like a little container that we can angle the bucket so that all of the crap falls onto the other side of it. Let's take a look around and see what we got. I got a couple ideas. We just cut the attachment out of this and I have an idea. Now I wish that I would have cut this out a little bit differently, because I'm going to do 3 posts right here, and what if I just screw a 4x8 sheet of plywood so that we dump onto the other side where all the rocks and crap go over there. I don't know, we'll see if it works. Now, I fully understand this is a very crude way of doing things, but this is proof of concept. I don't want to spend a bunch of time and money making a legit separator if I don't even like this attachment. So we've got just a quick separating board. Let's put a couple scoops through it and see how well we can actually separate this soil. See if it's worth it or not. We're gonna fly the drone around and get a little bit better view. That's what we have it for. Let's make sure that we can really see what's happening here. This line got caught here and it's about to rip that off. And then also I pinched this line pretty easy to see why this got pinched, because look, it's going right into the way. So I naturally set it down like that. Completely pinched Not one, but 2 lines. One was a case drain, so I didn't even notice, but lines are in the way and going back and forth, up, down, all around. There goes $100. So here is the sorted side, and that's decent dirt. The rocks in here are pretty small, but there's still a lot of dirt. But look how much waste there is. Granted, a lot of this is your much bigger rock, so it is sorting all of that stuff out. This is where the majority of the material went, versus that's how little we actually sorted out. Now I know that this quick setup is not ideal, but I just wanted to see if it worked first before I built a really nice box, and I've got some work to do on getting the angle just right. This is just one pile, and this realistically is not even a dump truck load, so that'd take a lot of time to go through at this speed. All right, now I sell full topsoil screeners. We've got different sizes, so I understand how a topsoil screener is supposed to work, and I'm testing out this bucket as, do I want to offer this as one of my products as well? So when you're watching me build that hokey barrier, I know how to build a proper one. I have some sitting right here, but also if you're gonna buy this bucket, that means you're not buying one of these big things. So I was trying to come up with a solution that's easy and cheap, can build a much better one, but that was the point of that separator. I've put my bucket right next to one of the full-size topsoil screens to show a couple things. Number one, look at the size of the initial screen. There is 2 separate screens with the full-size topsoil screener, and I think that that is one of the main things that this is missing. Too much dirt is piling up on here, and therefore it's not able to make it through the smaller screen. So being able to quickly separate through the bigger screen first, throw off all the big crap that you don't want, and then spend more time going through the smaller stuff, I think that's one of the main things that this is missing. Or just take much smaller buckets with this screening bucket. I think we could fab up a second level. The hard part is going to be, though, how are you going to scoop that dirt into the bucket? If your initial level is up here, that's going to be the hard part to correct this, at least within the bucket. Here is item number 2, and that is our tumbler, our counterweight, which is creating the vibration. If you look at the size of my hand here compared to on a full-size one, this has counterweights on each side. The amount of shake, the force that this is creating on not much different of a total area compared to this. I don't think we have enough vibrating force. This could be added onto. I think you could make this vibrate worse, but going back to our bearings, since the motor is directly connected to the bearings, I think that we're going to destroy those bearings, but I would add more counterweight to hopefully get this thing to shake more violently, because it was pretty, it wasn't really that bad in the cab because of these mounts. So it did a pretty good job of stopping the vibration from getting from the attachment to the cab. Therefore, I think it could handle a lot more vibration coming from here and not being a big deal on the cab itself. And this attachment needs more vibration to go through material faster. Common issue with nearly all of these cheap Chinese attachments is the direction of which the hydraulic lines come out. This is the mounting plate. This angle right here that's why we destroyed these 2 lines. Now, I could have been more careful. I should have known this. I have pinched multiple lines before. I know better, but I was excited about this attachment. I jumped right into it. So first thing first would be to 45 or 90 this up, get it out of the way, changing a couple of these angles, and probably even if I just zip tied some of them together to where they held it out of the way and then curve it up to the machine, that would save these lines from being in the way and getting pinched and bound up. Here's the next change that I would do. While these urethane or rubber bushings do a great job of stopping the vibration of getting from the attachment to the cab, it's not creating a violent enough vibration. I would remove one of these, probably the rear one, and put in a spring instead. So therefore this back end is going to really be able to vibrate a lot more, and that bounce motion will really help get that topsoil through the screener. All right, so the point of these videos is to give a recommendation. The way that this bucket sits right now, I think the best use for it would be if you are in a dry climate with very sandy, light soil that you do need to pick through the rocks. If you get into anything with moisture or, it's clumping together with clay, I think that this is just too small of a screen for it to fit through. Limited uses, I believe, on this. If you're going to use this all the time, I think you're going to want a larger topsoil screen. Therefore, even if I made all of the upgrades that I talked about doing and this thing did work pretty good, I don't think that you're going to move enough material to really make this worthwhile. And for that reason, I'm going to give it 1 thumb down. Not 2. There is some uses for this, but I think that either you rent one of these for the weekend if you don't have if you just have like one big pile to go through, or if you're doing it all the time, you want one of these anyways. So appreciate everybody watching. Check out my channel for other reviews. And again, if you see an attachment that you want a review of, put it in the comment. Thank you. Little bonus, I did find a good use for it even when it's not working. I've had this pile of drain rock sitting here and don't really know what to do with it because I unfortunately bought unwashed drain rock and I wanted to use this for my flower beds. Last thing you want is river silt in your flower beds. It will grow weeds like crazy. So figured I'd clean it up and use the screening bucket to do so. Now the screening bucket in this instance is working excellent because all of the dirt and silt is just falling through the bottom. Obviously, if you're going to do this again, just get washed, but because I have it, I'm actually getting some use out of this bucket. One of my favorite quotes is, "No man's opinion is entirely worthless. Even a broken clock is right twice a day." And here I'm using a broken attachment, but I pinched the lines. It's not working right now, but I'm still getting some decent use out of it. And I wouldn't buy it specifically for this, but a little bit of a bonus while I have it out. Might as well take advantage of it.